Good evening. We call this meeting to order, the February 4th regular city council meeting, 6 p.m. Roll call wise, we are all here and prepared, I hope. Thank you. Item 3 is Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've never had this big a turnout for a budget meeting before. I'm kidding. Item 4 is consideration of the agenda. Does anybody have anything they need to revise or delete or otherwise adjust?
Mayor, as I requested in advance, I wanted to show item 9C as a discussion and action item. And I realize that we may not get through all of the agenda this evening, but I'd like to show that as a discussion and action item, even if it moves from this meeting to another.
Okay. Well, after discussion with staff and our attorney, I don't think we're going to be prepared to take action tonight, so it's put on there as discussion only on purpose. So it'll be on a future agenda as well if we get through the discussion tonight. Either way, there'll be addition. There will be discussion before any action. So I'd like to leave it the same.
That's fine, just note my request.
Thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Susan and Melissa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Against.
Thank you. All right. I think we have just one announcement. Lyra, take it away.
Oh, that is, we are having a mini workshop here at City Hall on Saturday, March 14th from 11 to 1. So everybody is invited. It's free, and it's a little meditative kind of coloring mandalas. So again, everyone's invited if you would like to join us on Saturday, March 14th from 11 to 1.
All right, thank you. Okay, item 6 is an executive session related to possible legal action. So I've got a script. Dune City Council will now meet in executive session for the purpose of consulting with legal counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of the public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Representatives of news media shall be allowed to attend executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to remain in the council chambers while we leave to another room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and you're welcome to wait until we return. The time is now 6:08 p.m. and we'll be right back. Order at 6:36. This was just a discussion with our attorney. There's no action. We're not voting on anything right now. We'll go on to the next item. All right, that takes us to item 7, citizens input. Okay, first up we have Rapunzel.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rapunzel. And we also have Jeannie Jackson.
Are we talking about short-term rentals first?
No, item 7, citizens concerned.
Head water.
Okay, then water, yes. So I am concerned, I see there's a meeting coming up on water on the 6th. Now, that is a Friday, and we're usually closed. Is that a meeting the public is welcome to come to?
No, that's a meeting with the state staff. They picked the time and date. So Lila and I agreed to be here.
But it seems like it'd be very important that people who live here have a say-so in it. How can
It doesn't
you have
affect all of
meetings
them.
about something as important as city water without people being able to witness?
It's not a public meeting. It's a meeting with one of the water one of the community water system operators and the state and the city.
But I didn't think you could deny the public the
It's not a
ability
public
to
meeting.
attend.
It's their meeting, we're invited. So, yeah, we are gonna have a meeting.
Okay, well, this has happened before, and I think it's improper.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on citizens' concerns? Anything not on the agenda that you want to bring up tonight? Seeing none, we'll get to 8A, Budget Committee appointment.
Oh, you're passing citizen input that fast? Are there other cards?
You're
No.
talking short-term rentals, which is 9A and 9B.
Oh, we're coming back to that.
Yeah, I'm on 7. Now I'm on 8A.
Yeah. We're still getting
Yeah, we're all done.
You snooze, you lose. No, we didn't miss it. We've got a budget appointment. Lila, you have that in front of you? I have it
I do.
here somewhere. Okay.
Would you like the application?
There we go.
It's very hard to read.
Linda.
I know,
yeah.
it's a-
It's Linda John, right?
Yes.
Okay, Linda, are you here? So we have Joe Giamona and Linda John, correct?
Mhm.
So one's a returning citizen member and one is a new citizen member. And I don't think we need to,
I want to know, usually when we get these applications, there's a resume with it. Can we get a resume on Linda John?
is it really important?
I think it is.
The only requirement is that you're a resident.
We always
as a
have done it in
citizen
the
member.
past.
Are you asking for input on it? I'd just like to know why. Why does she want to be involved?
Oh, we asked for volunteers at the last meeting and she volunteered.
And I've done it before,
Okay.
several years ago, but
Any other questions or comments? Because we have a budget committee meeting in 2 weeks.
I'm all for it. If anybody wants to be
I know
involved,
that,
I'm
we
for
just
it.
usually,
I welcome
they have a
it.
resume with it, so I was missing that.
Gotcha.
The whole package.
Yeah, all we got was an application.
I just don't think everybody understood
I
when
didn't
we were asking for volunteers, so that's why I wanted to make sure
Okay.
everybody understood why.
Okay. So, I need a motion to approve 2 new budget committee members.
So move.
Thank you, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That's
And how many
unanimous.
more openings do we have?
Five.
Yeah, 5 more. The committee says up to 1 per equivalent number of council and mayor, so you can have 6 or 7.
Oh, so we have 4 then, right? Yeah.
We have 4 more, I
Yeah,
thought.
sorry, 4.
So we have 4 more openings?
Yes.
4, okay, yeah, we have 3 citizen members.
Yeah, any more people that want to become involved?
Let's step up.
Applications. Put a short word last time.
Wow, not real time.
Worked last time, but I thought I'd put it out there.
All right, thank you. Okay, 8B, Budget Committee meeting date and time.
So that'll be at the next council meeting, which will be on the 18th. And unfortunately, I was hoping we can do it at 5,
Okay, gotcha.
so right before the other meeting.
Can everybody be here at 5 in 2 weeks?
And I understand, the first little bit will be kind of going over things, so I understand, I knew that you'd probably be a little late, which is very fine.
Did you say that would work, Duke?
I'm good.
Okay, Melissa's a probably?
I will do my best.
Okay,
For
can you
survey
make it
window.
soon?
Yes.
All right, Rich, can you do that? All right, Chris?
Not in person, but I can call in.
For the whole night or just for the budget meeting?
For the budget meeting.
Okay. And Larry, can you be here at 5?
I will have to Zoom.
Okay. All right, and I think I can be here, so we'll start budget at 5, regular city council at 6. Okay. Does that require action?
No,
Okay, because we'd already had it on the calendar, right? I mean, okay, the meeting's good stuff. All right, 5 o'clock budget meeting, 6 o'clock council meeting. All right. Any other comments on budget committee meeting date and time before I move on? Seeing none, we'll go to 9A. We are, as a reminder, we started this item, we continued it, we've taken a lot of testimony. So we have, I think there's a lot of people that were here that already spoke, and so I want to get to anybody who hasn't spoke, and we have 4 online?
It's grown quite a bit.
Okay, we have some online. that couldn't be here that either sent a letter or checked in with us in advance. So I guess for ease of Chris, we'll start with those online. And then we've got anybody that filled out the card for 8A, 9A. And if anybody still wants to speak, send us a yellow card, so I'll have your name and I'll call on you when we get there. So, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll start off with Andrew. Andrew, did you want to speak?
Andrew Sturgill, is that it?
No, Andrew.
Online.
Online.
Oh.
Okay.
Unmute.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Andrew.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you want to speak?
Oh, I can speak, right?
Yes, go ahead. We've got 3 minutes for you.
Okay. So we are just reply on this a letter from you from city, Dune City, because we are mainly build the house and develop especially for vacation rental and got an official permit. So it's all in my letter what we wrote to the city, Dune City, and send it to you. And I hope you receive it, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, we are in a good standing. We received the permit, and we're trying to, together with the agency located in Florence, operate in very good standing. Well, so basically,
All right.
and. Okay, well, so we just for us very important what will be continue the short-term rental possibility in our house. That's basically what I want to say. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
We love Dune City. We actually. Full in love, and we know it's a wonderful people, a great area, and we just want to continue that.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Dune City resident.
Are you there?
All right, moving on to Hade.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to confirm that we sent a letter into the council. I want to confirm that you received it about our short-term rental.
What's the name that would be on your letter?
Hayden Lazaro.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I hope you all had a chance to read that and see what our feelings and thoughts and opinions are on the short-term rentals, and note the benefits we think they provide for the city and for us as residents of Dune City. Thank you.
Yes, we have it. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Anna. Let's move on to iPad. Okay. Jenny Lindsay. Okay. Go to John NC. John C.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I'd like to read the letter that I sent into the city. Dune City Council, Mayor, and citizens. My name is John Kenoyer, and I own the short-term rental located at 83925 Cloud9 Road. The property was originally purchased by my grandparents over 36 years ago. When they bought it, Dune City was a much different place than it is now. There were far fewer houses. I can remember when driving down Cloud9 Road felt like driving down a personal driveway, as there were no visible houses on either side of the road until you got to my grandparents' house. I have fond childhood memories of fishing, boating, and going to BJ's Ice Cream. I have since had the good fortune of being able to pass some of those memories on to my own boys, who are 10, 8, and 5 years old right now. To 3 young boys, Wohink Lake is a thing of sheer magic and wonder. Whether they're catching salamanders in the lake, giving each one a name and asking me to take them home with us, or simply finding a stick and sword fighting like pirates to the imaginary death, the lake is truly a special place for a young boy. One day I'll retire in this house, and eventually some of my kids might too. Our family's connection to this place has been in part made possible by my ability to rent this house on a short-term basis to fund maintenance and upkeep, while still allowing the house to be vacant enough for me to bring my family here 4 times a year to continue building those fond memories. Our world has changed a lot since my grandparents arrived here. Short-term rentals are now the preferred method of vacation lodging for most demographics. Even the baby boomer generation, ages 60 to 78, who booked hotels most of their life, make up 18% of the short-term rental demand. For better or worse, most of the property in Dune City is the exact kind of houses people are looking for in a short-term rental. If STRs are officially banned, there's a real possibility the illegal operations would get out of control, since the only way of regulating them would be defunded or dissolved. I started my rental before Dune City had a permit, and frankly, I'm a fan of the new code because it established criteria that the entire community has to abide by and keeps the ratio of homes to rentals fixed over time, which is the best way to ensure the community preserves its charm. Without adequately funded enforcement for all members of the community, that will disappear overnight. Dune City is exactly what everyone, legal or otherwise, is looking for. Another fact that intersects this issue is the rampant rise of housing costs. It's gotten so expensive to rent or buy homes that for those of us who are fortunate enough to own a home, it's likely the last home we will ever be able to afford in our lifetimes. What this means in a very practical sense is that the vast majority of us have just received a life sentence in the house that we live in. And not all of us are happy with the neighbors we got stuck with. That also means our neighbors are trapped too. I have a lot of sympathy for that because it affects us all the same. I don't like some of my neighbors, just as some of them don't like me. 30 years ago, that would have been a simple problem to solve. Your neighbor would move, or you would move, or it would change so often that we didn't put so much stock in the immediate composition of our streets. So how then do we get along as a community in light of these new realities that none of us can change? The 14th Amendment affords us the way forward by treating each of us equally under the law. No one is entitled to approve of everything our neighbors do, so no one should be given favor or discrimination by the freely chosen and legal uses of their properties. The new Dune City codes have established a minimum standard that we must all meet and provided the means of enforcing all codes in the city, not just the ones that pertain to rentals. There's no longer a need to try these issues in the court of public opinion. To that end, I feel the need to set the public record straight on my dealings with some of my neighbors, Tina Johnson and Andrew Sturgill, who have kept no secrets about their opinions of me as their neighbor. They have become fixtures of these council meetings and have used prejudiced rhetoric to steer the council in favor of actions that would be punitive to short-term rentals. Their favorite tool of rhetoric is my septic system. They have stated on Dune City public record several times that my system was, and I quote, leaking sewage into the lake for 9 months, which is verifiably false. 3 years ago, my septic system was damaged and needed repair. I hired a septic designer, pulled city and county permits, and at no point during the process was I ever in violation of city, state, or county laws. I dug test pits as instructed by the county, not sewage pits, and I had the system pumped every 2 weeks until the repairs were finished to prevent the very scenario my neighbor insisted was rampant at great personal expense to myself. If anyone has ever upgraded a septic before, they know it's not a short process. Tina wants to make this a short-term rental issue, but it simply isn't one. Had I been living in the property full-time myself, I would have had to make the same steps to repair and upgrade the nearly 40-year-old system and would have had to pump it every 2 weeks all the same. While this was going on, I knew Dune City was entertaining new codes about septic requirements, so I took additional steps to upgrade the system to commercial use. I now have a 1,500-gallon tank with a 1,000-gallon surge tank and about 200 extra feet of drain field I'll likely never use. I challenge anyone to point to another system in Dune City that can take as much crap as mine can. What is the city's plan to help me recover the over $16,000 cost of upgrading my system so that it would comply with Dune City Code? If the council revokes my permit without cause, I have no use for a commercial grade septic system and will be kept from recovering those charges. The short-term rental owners in this community have undertaken considerable expense to comply with Dune City codes under the pretense that we would be allowed to operate. At the same time that I was installing Dune City's most powerful septic system, Andrew Sturgill was calling around town asking my vendors for privileged information. He was stopping my pump trucks on our shared driveway. He even trespassed on my property while George Ellers, the Lane County sanitarian, and my septic designer, Gary Rose, were on my property discussing the new septic plan. The interaction became so heated that Gary had to tell Andrew to return to his property. On another occasion, Andrew trespassed on my property and even entered my house without permission and scared my deaf female housekeeper so badly that she refused to ever clean my house again. On another occasion, Andrew stopped my property manager in her truck at the top of our shared driveway and began interrogating her. It again became tense, and my property manager tried to escape with Andrew's hands on her vehicle, trying to stop her from moving.
Andrew.
On another occasion, Andrew told the garbage truck driver.
John?
Thank you.
Oh. Well, shoot. Okay, we have John's letter in the record. Yeah, sorry.
Let's stick to 3 minutes.
Next up is Lisa. And Lisa Payne.
I don't need to speak. I have colleagues that are there in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Maurice?
I sent you a letter. I think it's self-explanatory. I don't think I need to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I have your letter, Maurice. It's in the backup.
Okay. Richard Taylor?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for allowing me to zoom in. I haven't got a prepared speech. I enjoyed listening to the very eloquent previous one. I just want to emphasize what a privilege it is to be a co-owner of a short-term rental in Dune City. Every time I go to Dune City, my heart lightens. I get very excited. I've always wanted to have a place by the coast. I have a very clear memory of the first day that I arrived at my future property when my friend took me there on Clearwater Road on Siltcoos Lake. And I just remember thinking, what an amazing, beautiful place this is, but I will never be lucky enough to live in such a beautiful place like this. And my friend said, well, there is a way. You're not well off, but what you can do is you can buy this property with me. We can rent it out for short-term rental half the year, and then you can live your dream. You can stay in Dune City for the rest of the year. And I have every intention that when I retire, to spend a lot of time in Dune City. So I want to emphasize that a lot of people who've got short-term rentals in Dune City are truly good citizens of Dune City, and we want the best for Dune City. And my concern is that when we think about short-term rentals and people worry about disruption, I think that if we look at the statistics, the disruption is very, very little, because I think most of us care about our neighbors and try to minimize any disruption at all. And that's why we have good managers very close by to actually ensure that. So I just want to thank you again for allowing me to speak. And thank you again for allowing me to be an owner of a short-term rental and in effect being able to live my dreams. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to speak next. I'm Hannah Canoyer. I was unable to speak earlier because my son needed me. So I didn't get my 3 minutes. I would like to have John Canoyer unmute and continue reading his letter to the council. And Tina and Andrew average about 16 minutes and about 7 interruptions per Dune City Council meeting they go to. So I think that this council can listen to the rest of John's
Well, Hannah.
letter. John, can you continue reading?
Hannah and John, you were over 7.5, and we do have your letter. I think all of the council have read the letter.
And you're authorized 3 minutes.
We're going to move on to Sharon.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to read my letter. We own a home on Woodland Lane. We purchased the home 6 years ago as a second family home after searching for many years for a lakefront property in a small town with strong local amenities. Florence and Dune City were the perfect choice. We were thrilled to find the house and create a place where we could gather with family and friends to enjoy the lake and everything that Dune City has to offer. At the time, we had 2 children attending university in Eugene, and the home quickly became a central place for us to reconnect. Over the years, we have spent many holidays there: Christmases, New Year's, long weekends, graduations, and other family gatherings. We also come simply just to relax and spend time with our neighbors, who have also become our close friends. Our children regularly visit with their college friends to take a break from school, enjoy the area, and eat at local restaurants like Darling's. Our sister and brother-in-law visit several times a year with friends and have made it their preferred family destination. The ability to offer a home as a short-term rental through Vacasa Management has made all of this possible. STR Income has allowed us to maintain, update, refresh the house, including replacing the original septic system, and to ensure it remains comfortable and maintained for our family and our guests. In the 6 years our home has been used as a short-term rental, we have never, not once, had issues with unruly or disruptive guests, nor have we ever once had a neighbor complaint. In fact, we have offered our home to our neighbors for their own family use. Last year, our neighbor hosted a full family reunion there by using both our home and theirs, allowing all their guests to stay together on the lake. They regularly use our dock when we do not have guests, and our kayaks for family time or to enjoy sunsets. We fully encourage this, and we enjoy seeing it. We have also had many returning guests to our home. I'm skipping here. When the council reviewed and updated STR regulations last year, including increased permitted fees and enhanced requirements, we fully supported these changes. We welcomed the increased scrutiny and the increased enforcement aimed at addressing problematic rentals and ensuring STRs benefit the city rather than disrupt neighborhoods. In our view, these efforts have been successful. Like many STR owners in Dune City, we use Vacasa as our property manager. They are local and available to respond immediately. Our home is professionally cleaned, maintained, and supported. In closing, I believe it would be unfair to treat all short-term rentals the same. Properties that fail to follow city regulations should be addressed through enforcement with some of the money that we pay annually for our permit and monthly with our fees that you require. With those that comply, they should be recognized for the value that they bring to the community. Many of us are homeowners who use our properties regularly and plan to continue to do so. We love Dune City, we value being part of the community, and we appreciate the opportunity to share our home responsibly with others who want to enjoy the area and the local businesses and create lasting memories of their own.
Thank you very much.
Sue Ann?
No.
And Tall Madge?
None? Okay. All right, that's everyone online, and now we have a stack of cards for 9A. Okay, first on 9A, Jeannie Jackson.
Well, this is quite a surprising evening. I have never heard any residents allowed to speak the length of time. These people who you're now reading their letters aloud. My sister and I have written multiple letters through the years. We're always cut off at exactly 3 minutes, sometimes before that, and halfway between a sentence sometimes. I have never, it is amazing how much courtesy you're giving people who are pro short-term rentals. I hope you will afford people who feel otherwise the same length of time, because there are a lot of us too. And obviously the sudden show of people have been notified. This is a theatrical effort. I am very dubious about the fact that people are not afforded more time to, I mean, my sister and I were born and raised here. I've lived here all my life. And I lived here when this was Westlake, and this was Westlake City Hall. And this is ridiculous, the way you treat the people of Westlake and the residents who've lived here for years. Short-term rentals are a problem. I know you need them to make money, to support your city. But you should have more compassion for those of us who live here, and please afford us equal voice.
Thank you. Dina Mitchell.
Can I go later?
Sure.
Yeah.
Valerie Merchant?
Merchant.
Sorry.
I'm gonna start my timer so I don't get my hands slapped.
Okay.
I would like to say that I think I kind of agree with some of the other sentiment. It's very nice that we have a lot of people who have the blessing, as it were, to have 2 homes. But I live here full-time, 7 years, full-time. I don't have the blessing or the availability to go someplace else. And though I do believe that a lot of these short-term rentals, they don't have issues and they're very nice with their neighbors. But I'm currently in litigation because I was in a situation where there was a short-term rental and there were 4 vehicles parked on my property because the property was billed as, bring your toys. Dune City is a nice place to live and have fun. Well, there was only 2 parking spots. And they did go through Vacasa at the time, and there was no one who was going to respond to us at 11, 12, 1 a.m. Okay? Then we call to get their cars towed, and they break our leash lines. So we're still trying to recoup from that for something that wasn't our fault. And the suggestion is, well, maybe you put up signs, or maybe you put up fences. Have you seen the price of wood lately? It's not cheap. And I shouldn't have to alter my property because someone else isn't actually taking care of their situations. I also have a great relationship with our neighbors now. We do the same things. We share our kayaks, we share our docks, we talk to each other about when we're going to be out of town, and that's all fine and dandy. And I do also believe that short-term rentals are important. I also believe that the idea of having so many per other residents is a great idea. I would like to keep that. I also do believe that the fees that keep that running are also important. But there needs to be more transparency when situations like that arise. When it's 12:30 and we have a family of 12 from New York who is using a Vacasa rental and is violating the noise code, they're violating, where they're parking, they're blocking our only access out, and they're yelling at us because I can't leave to go to work because they're on vacation. It's very difficult. Now, don't get me wrong, we also have a neighbor who lives on site. So if there is somebody who's staying there, we have the ability to call them and say, hey, quote, quote, Ted, you have some ruly tenants, please handle it. If there's that accountability, if there's that responsibility where we can have them rectify the situation, haven't had any problems at all. But Airbnb and Vacasa, in my experience, are not readily accessible, especially when there's some sort of emergency. And now, based upon what kind of litigation I'm in, am I going to have to pay for these lawyer fees because somebody else broke my leash line and broke my property, And if they had broken my fence, and my dog had gotten out, and my dog had maybe, bit someone who was going, then am I going to be responsible? So
I do like the idea of it, and that's my timer, but I will say that there needs to be more consideration for those of us who don't have the blessing of having another house, who we live here.
Sure. Is that still a short-term rental? Is that an ongoing problem, or that is no longer a short-term rental?
The funny thing is that short-term rental was purchased by an owner who lives there full-time.
Okay.
They have now, since though, they have actually moved, and they're going to be doing like month-to-month rentals.
Okay.
Now, thankfully, we have a relationship with them so that we can have that communication. But if they sell, we could be very next door to those family of 12 from New York who's cussing out my late husband because he can't get out of his driveway.
All right, thank you. All right. Lars, Eric.
Malin, good evening.
Yeah.
City Council members, thank you for taking your time this evening. I would ask if you could turn and look at the sign behind you. It says Dune City, a nice place to live. I'm a third generation Dune City resident, and my daughters will be soon to be fourth generation Dune City residents. We have a neighbor who has a short-term rental that's caused some issues, mostly regarding lake access. They go through our property to access the lake, and this brings a security concern for myself and my daughters. It's one of the only places that I feel comfortable with them being free and playing. And it's tough for me because now I have to think about who may be around, and these are strangers. These are people that impact not just our homes, but our enjoyment and our peace and our serenity. I support short-term rentals because I'm American. I believe that we should all have the freedom to pursue our happiness in our own way. And so I would like for you all to consider the voices and the citizens of Dune City here tonight, and as well as the short-term rental owners. So I thank you for your time, and thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can I ask a question about the lake access?
Yes.
Is that, do you guys have an arrangement for lake access? Or
No,
is
it's
there
private
an easement,
property.
or it's all private property? So it's basically a trespass situation?
Yes.
In your case? Okay.
Yep, and it's well signed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Amber Tucker.
Good evening, and thanks for your time. I'm a homeowner here in Dune City for 27 years, and I've raised my children here. And my concern is that, that this short-term rental wouldn't be an option if I wanted it to be at some point in my time in my life here. I have a big house because I've raised lots of kids, and now they're out of the house. And if I wanted to have a short-term rental at my home, I would sure like to have an option to do that. And as a homeowner, I would be responsible for it. And I think that that codes in place are appropriate, and I would like you to consider not taking it off the table entirely for people who choose to do that. And yeah, so thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Kim Hayes.
Hi, thank you for listening to everyone. I'm a third generation homeowner here too, and I just would like to share the same sentiment that the people that called in shared, and that is that our short-term rental is also allowing us the opportunity to keep the home and the family by being able to recoup some of our expenses in having the home. And I understand some of the other concerns from other people, and I too think it's a good idea that you have a cap on how many short-term rentals maybe you keep in the city, and also agree with just having some requirements of the owners that do rent out their home that they have to abide by.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Grace.
Hi. I want to just give a quick background to highlight my knowledge base, experience, and perspective. I've owned and managed rental properties for over 20 years. I moved to the coast 9.5 years ago. The last year and a half spent in Dune City in 2 different homes. The 4 dwellings that I owned in Bend were STRs and monthly rentals. I now have 1 monthly rental in Newport and 2 in Walport, which are all under very strict HOA regulations. Buying my current home in Dune City was a stretch financially and only works with the income from renting it out part-time. There's no way that I would have purchased it without that option. And I've also just done a $60,000 remodel to make it better accommodate STR renters. And I also have a really nice septic system. For those that are complaining about STRs, just because something bothers you doesn't mean it should be eliminated. I don't appreciate duck hunting gunshots, which I didn't know about, annoying leaf blowers and loud roadie day bikes, or my daily drive by a lot with 5 buildings and at least 10 vehicles each day. We tolerate this because others have the right to do these things. Most of us live here to avoid often strict and unrealistic HOA rules. In 40 years of community service, business leadership, and nonprofit management, I know guidelines based on behaviors of a few are unfair and do not work. If you penalize the rest of us, it's a huge disservice to Dune City. It will lower property values, hinder our rights, reduce revenue for the city, eliminate jobs, and might cause a glut in higher-end home sales. STRs must be regulated, and those regulations must be enforced. Based on reading all the complaints in the meeting packet, it's obvious that investigation and enforcement has taken place. Taking down an entire tree for a couple rotten apples just doesn't make sense. Regardless of my opinions and potential financial challenges, I encourage the board to not open up a legal can of worms. I believe it's your responsibility to not spend additional time and money fighting a battle that likely will end in a negative outcome. I suggest you look at recent cases in Newport and unincorporated Lincoln County. In 2022, Measure 21-203 aimed to eliminate STRs in residential zones within 3 years. It was favored by the commissioners and passed a vote of the citizens. However, Oregon's Land Use Board of Appeals ruled this invalid because it did not comply with Oregon land use regulations regarding existing uses. For the proposed STR resolution for Dune City, the all or nothing approach is flawed, in my opinion. I've read, in this statement you would want to check with your lawyer, but I've read that how you rent your property can't be controlled by a local municipality. As long as owners abide by STR regulations, you can't take away existing property rights. If you decide to limit STRs, one solution is to grandfather in current STRs and then limit others going forward. For the good of our community, let's prune the apple tree, but let's leave it standing. And I did bring copies of some of the legal stuff if you are interested.
Okay, thank you. Next is Brad Hayes.
I guess I'll just reiterate what my wife said.
Okay.
Yeah, she's 3rd generation. Her grandma bought the house back in the 80s. And it's been a family gathering place for years. We have 8 grandkids, and it's their getaway. And her dad passed away 4 years ago, and we were left the house. And, you know, the other guy called it a blessing. It was a blessing that we got the house. And, you know, having it as a short-term rental, we manage it. We don't have anybody else manage it. We are really, you know, sensitive and selective on who rents it and how many people are in it. And, you know, I'm hoping that my grandkids will have that house. And allowing it to be a short-term rental is part of what's going to make it happen. And, you know, I appreciate these people's concerns about, you know, some of the disruptive behavior that's happened. And, you know, I think it's, you know, if it's regulated and it's up to code, and if you're a good steward of that house, which my father-in-law left to us, and I hope to leave it to my kids.
Thank you. Carter Chess.
May I stand?
Yeah, please.
My My name is Carter Chess, and I live on Russell Drive. What used to be a friendly, quiet, safe neighborhood has changed significantly over the past year. My neighbors on Russell Drive and Rio Drive have had our lifestyles frequently interrupted by guests of 5175 Russell Drive. It has become a nuisance for us and nothing but a business opportunity for the owners and managers. I've questioned the zoning, and with no regard for the neighbors, placing the rest of us in jeopardy and concerns about our safety. A few points. Several owners share a community dock on Woking Lake. It was in our CC&Rs, and when the HOA was formed and is still in the CC&Rs. There is no maintenance other than volunteers with regards to this dock. We are facing a huge liability with strangers and non-owners using the dock. Should there be an accident, we are subject to legal action by non-residents. I understand this is not a code violation, nor is it a city issue, but I would like you all to know that there are other issues with regards to this property and how it's being used. Also, this dock has been misrepresented to guests. Several guests have trespassed on private property. Mr. Malum?
Thank you, ma'am.
Using neighbors' properties and private docks for their own recreation. I would like to see them deleted from the rental listing in order to protect the actual owners. Complaints through normal channels have fallen on deaf ears. Popular rental times are typically in the summer. There is a fire pit on the property, and last year's guests enjoyed fireworks as well. With our current lack of rainfall and large stand of trees nearby, this needs to be addressed, monitored, and responded to in a responsible and professional manner. Mr. Donahue, who is the manager of the property, has not been either responsible or professional to the rest of us. I and other neighbors have witnessed guests loose and leash dogs on our properties and their lack of responsibility in cleaning up after them. I have contacted Mr. Donahue several times about this. He reported he had contacted the guests and told me, quote, "Stop harassing me with untruths." To the best of my knowledge, he has never appeared at the property with regard to any complaints, which he is required to do. Septic issues. This is a big one, as most of us on Woking Lake get our household and drinking water from the lake. 5175 does not. Upon some research by my neighbor Linda John, it appears this property was finalized as a 3-bed, but indeed has been advertised as a 6-bed, which it still is. And the STR business has never been issued an on-site wastewater permit, which was required by Dune City as a condition of approving the STR permit. I would ask the city investigate this and determine why and who was responsible for not doing their due diligence with regard to the initial permit and correcting it. In closing, the approval of the permit for this SDR has seriously impacted our neighborhood, for some financially. I and another neighbor have felt forced to purchase additional properties in order to protect ourselves and avoid more building of these units. This was not a small investment, and I would have much preferred to spend my children's inheritances in a different manner. I do not see a good reason for us to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in defense of our own neighborhood and homes. I appreciate your time and urge you to consider the above comments as you decide on whether or not this property is an asset to our city, definitely not to our neighborhood, and whether this permit should be renewed.
Thank you. And we are looking into that septic system still, talking to the county, I promise. Next up's Jim Donahue.
Well, I want to touch on what we talked about last week, just because it wasn't recorded. So, quick statement on that, then I'll address some of these complaints. Last meeting, comments were kind of taken personal. So please know that I represent people of our community, their livelihoods. That includes a lot of laborers, businesses, that this motion will affect directly. With that said, if a council member proposes a motion, then that member should have no personal, financial, or direct interest. These actions are heavily restricted by ethics laws. In this case, there does appear to be some collusion as well as personal interest. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm asking that any members involved in any motion with any of these interests be excluded from a vote, and in the future not be allowed to put a motion in place without disclosing their personal involvement. Concerning the complaints, Dune City has all of our contact information. They have my personal cell number. They give it out to the people that complain. Complaints are handled as soon as they're received. Even though the people complaining don't believe they are, we call our guests immediately. Every guest that we contacted with any issues whatsoever has complied immediately. Even when the complaint seems to be false, guests go out of the way to try and make the neighbors happy. And I know some people don't believe that, but that's what we're observing. Complaints on file are many, reported by few. And this very small group of people, regardless of how many friends rallied and brought to the meetings, have an agenda to shut down short-term rentals. This small group of people cost the city, homeowners, business owners, and workers a great deal of time and money. We have complied to the new rules and continue to do so. We want to work with our neighbors, not fight with them. We've received many complaints that must be misunderstandings. These misunderstandings seem to cause conflict which need to be avoided to keep the peace. I receive complaints while owners are in their own homes and while they're in them. So some of them are not legitimate. An example of it, we have a neighbor that wanted to call the fire department because of a fire pit. It was a legal fire pit, which I think somebody just talked about. And they also wanted to call the fire department on a barbecue. We go out above and beyond to try and make these complaints right. So we removed that fire pit, the one that claims that nothing was handled on. We actually removed it so these can't happen again. The barbecue is a barbecue. It is what it is. We've even gone as far as frosting windows on side of houses. Changed out light fixtures on the side of houses just to make neighbors that complain happy. So we're going above and beyond. We're trying. But you know, if we're getting calls, repeated calls at wee hours in the morning, sometimes I might not get a friendly person if the complaint is not urgent. If we handle the complaint and we feel it's handled and is taken care of, but continue calls. Not to say that it should happen that way, but what I'm saying is that's what happened, so let's try and talk about this a little more rationally and acknowledge that these things are handled.
Hey, Jim, you're at 4 minutes. You about done?
Yeah, let me finish one more thing. I'm okay. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to exercise a privilege to respond.
No.
Let me read it, then I'll answer any questions
I
you got.
understand, but when somebody accuses me of...
That's not phone call, you can't respond.
You're
The
just
main
an
problem with
audience
the question
member.
has been owner homes.
Okay.
Guests are only there less than half of the year, which to me is far better than if I manage the home full-time and put in full-time residents. A large house like this will hold a lot of people, a lot of kids. And you have kids running around your neighborhood 365 days a year. So I think it's just better if we work together on this, resolve some of these issues, because I think it'll get worse for you if I put a family in there. We live in a vacation destination. I'm sure many of you vacation here before moving. Every city wants to bring tourism in. It's what keeps towns like ours thriving. People wanting to stay in hotels or different clientele. Neither industry affects the other. People want an entire home to pick a new location, which will affect our economy if we're banned. There will always be complaints in every city. For us, it's the fireworks, 4th of July. Noise from the dunes, lakes, hunters, people burning, smoke coming into our houses from the burning, roadie days, classic cars, motorcycles, the traffic all these events bring. This is where we live. No different than moving to the next to an airport. We choose vacation destinations to let's work together as neighbors, to do what's fair for the majority, which is the community, and find compromise with those that oppose us. Thank you for letting me go.
All right, thank you. Larry, let's save our comments until we get through all the audience.
Well, let me just make a point that I'd like to address. He's accusing me of unethical.
It wasn't
unethical
accused, it's just
behavior.
an observation, that's
No,
all.
but you made this assertion in the last meeting.
Well, it wasn't recorded, so I had to make sure it
I
was recorded
understand.
this time.
Alan, this doesn't include you.
It's
Okay?
not protocol, you respond.
I understand, so I will reserve the opportunity to respond to this.
All right, thanks. Jack Eichelberger.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I want to address the role that short-term rentals play in Dune City, specifically within the framework of our existing ordinances and local oversight. Dune City has already taken a measured, responsible approach to short-term rentals. Our ordinances require permitting compliance with safety standards, local contacts, and enforcement mechanisms. These rules exist to protect neighborhood character, and they matter. The question before us is not whether regulation is appropriate. Dune City has already answered that, but whether we recognize the value of short-term rentals provide when they operate within those rules. One of the most important roles short-term rentals serve is temporary housing. Families relocating to Dune City in the greater Florence area, including workers, retirees, people transferring employment, often cannot secure long-term housing immediately. With an already tightening housing market, short-term rentals function as a bridge, allowing people to move here, enroll their children in school, and enroll themselves into their current job. Short-term rentals, when regulated properly, are not a threat to Dune City. They are a managed asset, one of those that supports new families getting settled, helps residents to remain in their homes, and contributes to the health of our local economy. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Andrew Sturgill.
I've spoken a number of times on this issue, and I think most of the council is familiar with my views on it. So I'm not going to expand on that at this time, but my views are certainly not positive about short-term rentals in our community. And if anything, I'm more entrenched in that position than ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John Caldwell.
Yes. I responded before. My status is pretty much anti-short-term rentals. They don't do anything for the neighborhood, nothing. They do a lot for the owner. Okay, so I'm going to change subjects. Could the council please think about anti-fireworks, either signage or something? That's
a
thought, okay?
Okay, it's not part of this agenda item, but you brought it up last time.
But you know what I'm
We'll look
saying,
into that.
right? Okay. Something to say no fireworks in Dune City.
Thank you. Tina Johnson.
Tina Johnson.
Oh, Tina Johnson, that's me. So I just have 3 quick questions. The first one is to the city council. Is it your job to support those of us who live full-time here in Dune City, or the out-of-town investors? Same question to the code enforcer. Is it your job to support those of us that live here full-time in Dune City, or the out-of-town investors? And then same with the neighbors. Is it your job to help support your neighbors that live here in Dune City, or out-of-town investors? And I could ask the same for property management, but I think we know what the answer would be, so. And what does make a good neighbor? Good neighbors show respect, consideration, and the biggie are also our proactive communication. And we don't get that with short-term renters, the proactive communication. And my final comment is, in order to complain, 2 things have to happen. You need to complain to the people or the person who the complaint is about. If I'm mad at my husband, it's not going to do any good for me to complain to my best friend. And in this case, we're complaining to the Dune City Council. The second thing when you're complaining is you have to have a vision of something better. And several of us have had a vision of something better. since the very beginning, I've been saying for 5 years now, if the people who own the short-term rentals live here in Dune City and are taking care of them, that's one thing. But when you have someone who lives out of town and out of state, and it's an investment, that's what I've been talking about this whole time. So yeah, we've looked at your model, a nice place to live. Is it a nice place to live, or do we want it to be a nice place for out-of-town people to invest?
Thank you. Deborah Nash.
Mayor Ed McGuire and the City Council, thanks for listening. And thank you for everybody who's contributing, because I think it's all important to hear everybody's voice. I'm a healthcare provider in Eugene. I've been a healthcare provider for the better part of 30 years. And I have saved very profoundly for this beautiful place we found on Mohawk Lake 4 years ago. And it was in mind to eventually retire here, and we live part-time here, and I keep saving up so we can eventually be here permanently when we do retire. And having a short-term rental helps me to do that. Let's see, we have never had a complaint, we've never had a problem. In fact, we chat with our neighbors all the time and check in and say, is everything okay? There was a group of 7 to 10 or what have you, was everything okay? And everybody says, we didn't hear a thing. Okay, if you ever hear anything, please let us know right away. I have to say that I feel very privileged to have this beautiful home that we saved for many years. I feel so privileged that we get to be there, and vicariously, when somebody is in the home with their family, and they have their grandchildren, and they come back year after year after year, vicariously, even if I'm across the street in a tent at Honeyman State Park, it brings me such profound joy to share this home with others. I've lived more than half my life already. This house will well outlive me. It just is such an amazing thing to be able to share with others that perhaps can't afford their own vacation home, this wonderful experience in Dune City. Now, I really feel badly for the isolated cases of people who have said my property was damaged or they're trespassing and going across. These are separate legal issues which could happen with a short-term rental or could happen otherwise. And those issues should be taken care of, and these people should be respected, and the law needs to help them be on their side. But it's not the fault of these short-term renters. Like I say, many of them are families who come to enjoy this space, and I don't want to be exclusive. I'm a working class person. I've worked for everything I have, and I love opening my home to other people. That brings me great joy. As much joy as when I'm there myself, I have to say. So I just want to share the joy, and I want people who, 90% or more of the visitors, I imagine, behave beautifully. There are isolated cases, and those should be dealt with. Thank you so much for listening, and I have a lot of compassion for everybody in this room because you're all right.
Thank you. Kurt Worsham.
I'm Deb's partner, and we manage the short-term rental ourselves. We're very selective with who we let in. We've never had a single complaint. We work very, very hard, and we just want to have it for our grandchildren to take the canoe out on the lake and enjoy this wonderful area. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Ford.
I just want to share an experience I had a couple years ago. They were renting the house out down the road, and summer night, I get it, I knew they were renting it, barbecuing out back, later at night, evening time, and I had 2 people that had been drinking wander into my yard because they heard my music and smelled the barbecue and thought it was an open invitation to come hang out. They were staying at the rental. They let me know that right away. I asked them to leave and get off my property, and that's when they went from being real friendly to very combative, aggressive. And I managed to get them off. Nothing catastrophic happened, but I have 2 daughters that are out there with me. And that was the day I decided I don't think short-term rentals in my neighborhood are a great idea. I didn't enjoy the experience, and I didn't like how it felt to have to look over my shoulder in my own home.
All right,
That's it.
thank you for that. Shannon Silky, vote.
Hi.
Did I get that right? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I have to read. It's my letter, but I haven't.
Let her read.
I'm Shannon Silky Ballou. I'm here for my mother, Carol Silky. Our family has been visiting Silky's Lake for over 60 years. My dad and mom first fell in love with the area as guests at the Sawbirds, and soon after bought on the lake. The home they rent through through our local management, and then we also have an in-property management that lives nearby also, so we have 2 levels of management. Has been a rental for over 10 years. We pride ourselves in doing everything possible to be respectful to the neighbors. The home has routine maintenance and yard work done regularly. But we hope that the guests that come stay fall in love with this beautiful area and choose either to come back to visit or, just like my parents did so long ago, choose to make this their home. I mean, how many of us first came here to visit years ago? How many cherish being able to go to Darling's, have great barbecue, and look out on that beautiful lake? It's wonderful that families can camp nearby, choose to stay at the resort, or if they need more space to spread out as a family, they have the option to choose a vacation home. I love that bringing guests into the city helps support not only the city coffers, but nearby businesses, those businesses that help support our entire community. In conclusion, although our home only has guests less than 50% of the year, the home and yard are maintained by local families and businesses year-round. The families that visit leave frequent guest reviews of how much they've enjoyed this wonderful community, and thank you for sharing it with all of us.
Thank you. Spencer Lake.
I, next month, will have lived here in Dune City full-time for 3 years, and I've had, fortunately, very good experiences with our neighbors who own STRs. I do not own an STR, but I speak in support of their right to keep those STRs, because my understanding is there's a proposal on the table to ban them completely in Dune City. Let's not kill the fly with a sledgehammer. Let's just deal with these things on a case-by-case basis. If there really is a bad situation, which it sounds like there are, revoke the permit, but not ban them all completely. I have neighbors who don't live here full-time that own the STR, but they've done wonderful things to improve the area. They're always checking in. They're very neighborly. They're very responsible. I also have friends who own an STR who do live here full-time, and they're very responsible, and they're pillars of the community for decades. So I wouldn't want to take that right from them. One day when my kids are grown and out of the house, I imagine I might need to look into being a short-term rental owner myself, because I'm a teacher. I'm not independently wealthy. I might need that income, and I wouldn't want to have to leave Dune City if already my property tax has gone too high. I feel like I need that opportunity. So let's just be responsible and common sense about dealing with those things on a case-by-case basis, not banning them completely. That's all.
Thank you very much. All right, Chris John.
All right, good evening, councilors. Thank you for volunteering your time to run our city government. For those of you that have never lived next to a short-term rental hotel, it is a fundamental restructuring of your private lives. For the uninitiated, living next to an STR hotel is a relentless and ongoing presence that creates a magnified sense of vulnerability, 24-hour cycle of worry, anticipatory dread, and a hypervigilance. As a result of an STR hotel recently built across the street, we now have a permitted three-bedroom septic attached to a 6-bedroom house being used as a hotel. a 3-story house where our CCRs only allow for a 2-story, a business in a residential area where our CCNRs prohibit businesses in residential areas. And not to mention, Dune City's own ordinances prohibit businesses in residential areas. We protested both the structure and the septic to no avail. At every turn, we have to document and prove everything while the hotel guests get a pass. Lane County online permits, as of yesterday, reveals a significant gap in regulatory compliance regarding wastewater management. 28 properties are currently listed in active short-term rentals here in Dune City. 18 of these properties do not have or possess required change of use wastewater permits from Lane County. 18. These 18 properties are operating without necessary approvals required to satisfy Dune City's STR ordinance and receive a use permit. We've endured a year of parties, disruptions, rude guests, and trespassing. Will these year-long regulatory violations get a pass as well? Under Lane County Code, a change of use permit is mandatory when a residential property transitions to a commercial or transient use, such as an STR. This ensures the on-site wastewater system can safely handle the increased occupancy loads. The maximum occupancy of an STR is strictly limited by what the on-site system can accommodate per Dune City ordinance. With nearly 70% of the active STRs lacking verified wastewater approval, there is a substantial risk of system failure and environmental impact to local water quality. Immediate enforcement, immediate permit revocations, and fines are necessary to align operations with the current city and county health standards. This septic overload is exactly what our family has been telling you about since last May. And the administration has been 100% dismissive. We've read the ordinance, researched the facts, verified the results with Lane County officials, and documented failures recently lodged in yet another complaint. Will this violation get another pass? Do we need to lodge complaints for the other 17 properties? Will they all get a pass from this administration? These hotels in our neighborhoods have more protections, receive subjective leniency, and attract more concern from our city administration than the citizens' concerns. The citizens that make up our neighborhoods and suffer the STR nightmare daily. If we cannot accurately administer the permitting and do not penalize the violators, then it falls on neighborhoods to once again suffer the STR hotel nightmare.
Hey Chris, you're running over.
Really? You gotta be kidding me.
We're on the same item that you've already spoken on this item. This is a continuation, but.
No, it's not. Because I'm revealing the fact that your our permitting process has failed.
No, the county has failed.
Yeah.
How did they get a permit?
Hey Chris, I'm up here, please.
Okay.
Please let me finish. You have a comment. We're working with the county. It is not a Lane County requirement, it's a Dune City requirement. According to Lane County, we're the only city that requires this. So it's a bonus step for them, and I'm afraid they haven't fully complied. But we are in touch with the county, and we're working on that. And this is a continuation of the item you already spoke on, so.
Well, I don't think it's right to shut me down and let everybody else talk for 8 minutes.
Finish. All right, go ahead and finish.
Thank you very much. This council's primary obligations to the citizens, not the commercial interests that extract value from it. There is an unpermitted short-term rental at 84403 Greengate Road. Currently has an active listing at an Airbnb website. Currently. Not knowing the code ordinance does not remove accountability from the short-term hotel operators. Fine them. Find every STR hotel that does not have a valid extended use authorization permit from Lane County. Half a page. We'll get through this. Stop giving a pass to violators, both owners and managers. Hold these hotel operators accountable just as you do the citizens for knowing the code and complaint process. Find them and fund our code enforcement. Dune City is not a nice place to live anymore. Once the social capital of a neighborhood is spent, no amount of tourism tax can bring it back. There are no positives, no benefits, no community gains in having a short-term rental in your neighborhood. Stop allowing hotels in residential neighborhoods. Thank you. And go Seattle.
All right, Sarah Schumann. Here's Tara. Thank you.
Good evening, council members and members of our community. My name is Tara Schuneman, and you may recognize me from attending past meetings, from serving you at local restaurants, or maybe from crossing paths in Fred Meyer aisles. I was raised in the Greater Florence community that we all love and share, and I understand what a privilege it is to have access to the natural beauty of this place that we are fortunate enough to call home. Tonight I speak both as a representative of our neighbors and as a local operations manager for Vacasa, the short-term rental management company. Over the past several years, Dune City has shifted its course from being a small incorporated town within Lane County to becoming a community with a strong voice and a clear commitment to preserve its history and identity. In the past, funding for community development often felt unattainable or simply outside the scope of the budget. As community engagement has grown and residents have brought ideas and concerns to this council, meaningful changes have followed, along with the financial responsibilities that naturally come with economic growth. This reality is that there's a budget to meet. While we all may have personal feelings and differing opinions on how our community evolves, the short-term rental market provides essential revenue that helps fund the financial needs of an incorporated city. When we look at the balance sheet of profit and loss, the numbers matter. Short-term rentals make up a significant portion of revenue for small coastal cities like ours, supporting local businesses and the families who depend on those incomes. The fees and taxes generated through the vacation and tourism markets help subsidize roads, water systems, city payroll, and other essential infrastructures. More broadly, this market brings tourism dollars that allow our region to function, enabling people to live and work in the very place and lifestyle we all value. As someone who grew up here, I feel deeply grateful to have the opportunity not only to support my child through local employment, but also to help sustain the businesses and community that make this place so special. Thank you for your time, your service, and for considering the financial realities alongside the values that we all share for Dune City's future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Lane.
So, thank you. We submitted a letter, and we have, similar, investment in the property that other short-term rentals do. We actually live on property. We retired here and made the investment locally, and we have, our main home and then a 2-bedroom, 2-bath guest house on the same property. And so the neighbors that might be bothered by our guests are us. And so, we've actually, we're new to the short-term rental game. We just started last May, and we've had no complaints. In fact, we haven't had any customers, any guests that haven't received a scoring of 5 to Airbnb. And so we've had no issues, no rowdiness, no anything. We sit on 2.7 acres. We have a dock. Access is across only our property. And so a lot of the problems that I can appreciate, some of the problems that these people are having. We don't have any of those, and I don't think we could cause any of those. Our nearest neighbor is like a long ways away. And so anyway, we think that, a total ban would be unfair to those who are totally compliant.
Thank you very much. All right, Linda John.
Okay. Members of the council, thank you for your service to our city and for revisiting these issues of short-term rentals. I am here to express serious concerns with the short-term rental 5175 Russell Drive. It received a final approval of a septic system for the 3-bedroom home. Despite that, they are now renting the house as a 6-bedroom, effectively operating as a small hotel. The system was not designed to accommodate that number of people. Lane County, and I've talked to 2 sanitarians, 2 people from the DEQ, that all say it requires an authorization permit whenever a septic use changes. So when it goes from a 3-bedroom to a 6-bedroom, they need to have somebody make sure it can handle that. Yet none was obtained. Converting a residence to a short-term rental also requires an on-site wastewater permit, which determines how many bedrooms can be accommodated under what they consider commercial use. This permit was never obtained either. This constitutes not only a Class 2 DEQ violation per them, but also a blatant violation of Dune City's own application process. Moreover, any continued use of the septic system without the required letter of authorization or permit is in itself an ongoing Class 2 DEQ violation. Under Orders 468-140, violating the terms of a required DEQ permit can trigger penalties. They can assess a penalty for each day a violation continues. Fines can be up to $25,000 per day for each permit violation. Each day continued noncompliance counts as a separate offense. I recently submitted these concerns to the city. Just yesterday, the rental listing was changed to reflect that it is now a 4-bedroom, but still sleeping 16 in the heading. This leads me to believe that the property manager or the city appear to not be grasping the severity of the violation. The property manager has failed in another critical responsibility. Jim Donahue assured neighbors that the property would not be rented this grody weekend, and then welched on that commitment. When I asked him directly about the change, he stated he could not discuss it. I then called the iTrip representative who had publicly stated at a recent meeting residents could reach out to her to resolve issues, yet she did nothing. When I raised this matter with Igor, the compliance officer, I was told that Jim simply changed his mind and this was not a violation. This sends a very clear message to property managers. Complaints can be ignored and accountability is optional. Yet, Chapter 11438 of the short-term rental ordinance from Dune City states plainly that failure to resolve violations is grounds for suspension or revocation of a short-term rental permit. The city's position doesn't just disregard that rule, it dismisses residents' valid concerns and undermines its own ordinance. So the next time 28 drunk, rowdy bikers are partying at this home, or renters are setting off illegal fireworks, we already know the outcome. The police won't respond, the property manager will do nothing, and the city will not enforce the ordinances that are meant to protect us. While the city profits from these rentals, residents pay the price in stress, fear, and sleepless nights. How does this make Dune City a good place to live?
There is no need to send cops out.
Thank you.
When they're drunk and throwing bottles in.
They weren't.
They were.
No.
Were you there?
All right, please. Next is Ted
Vanderwood. Again, it's me.
There you go.
I don't know if I could ask this, but I want to ask a question to start off with. How many people up here have short-term rentals that are supposedly taking care of the city here?
I do not.
Is that a legitimate question? I mean, can I ask
Well,
that?
legitimate question. Normally we wouldn't answer, but I don't think any of us do.
Okay.
In the city limits.
Okay.
I don't have one at all.
Well, I'm not really for them. I know that they're gonna be here, first of all, because, you know, the city's gotta make money, and where are they gonna get their money? There ain't much here for them to get money anywhere else. So, they're always gonna be here, one way or the other. But I think that they do need to be looked at, and things that, you know, we need to just come up with a little better rules and stuff to kind of handle this situation. You know, that's basically the only thing I got.
Okay, thank you. Tina Mitchell.
I'll just reiterate what a lot of people said. I have a statement, but you got my letter.
Yes.
We're in a situation where we have an SDR as well, and it's very much like, I guess, the Hazes, where it's a family house, and where we have some incredible memories with our family or my parents, and is now a part of our, my siblings and our families. And we have turned it into an SDR because of the same reasons that we can't keep it if we don't have some way to create an income for that home. And also we, with our home that we live in, we turned a portion of that home with a separate entrance into an STR during COVID, and it saved us. We had a business that was shut down because of COVID, and we didn't lose our home because we were able to rent it as an STR. And so what I would reiterate, like everyone else has said, I understand that there are some problems. Look at where the, I have that graph of where all the problems are and where the majority of them are. I would ask the Dune City to check that and see. And also that STR owners and renters are not bad people. That were you know, there are people, there are teachers, there are friends, there are nurses that have come in and stayed in our homes. They're wonderful people, and every once in a while you get something that doesn't work. We have never in 5 years had any problem with our STR. We've never had any problem with our guests. We've never had any complaints at all. We've had people from all over the world, from Belgium, and I mean, I can name probably a dozen countries. We've made friends with them. They're coming back, and we actually feel really grateful that we get to live in this treasured place, but more importantly, we get to share it with our neighbors. And our neighbors are not by zip code and address. Our neighbors are those people who also can enjoy this wonderful place with us. And so I think we need to rethink neighbors and neighborhoods that it's bigger than that. And to put a ban on all of STRs, you are limiting people and families to be able to come under a roof and gather and connect together like we did when I was growing up and my grandchildren are doing. And it's a wonderful thing, and for us to limit that for other people is very short-sighted in my opinion. It's an overreach. And I'm all for let's find out where these other little problems are, but a complete ban is just extreme.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Tracy Powers.
Hi, I work in the vacation rental industry. I sat through this meeting on January 7th, and I listened to statements from community members and from council members that were shocking. Ted D. said, "These travelers are riffraff, and I'm concerned about the safety of my home." Tina Johnson said, quote, "I bought a gun for my safety." And Councilmember Larry Farnsworth said, quote, "Vacation rentals increase the potential for crime and transience." In 2025, there were 27 operating licensed vacation rentals. During that year, there were 10 formal complaints filed by members of the community. All were investigated, most were in regards to noise, parking, and trash, and many found not to be in violation of any Dune City ordinances, per your code enforcement officer. None of these reports were in regards to safety, as the statements above would seem to portray. Many of you stated in the January 7th meeting that you didn't like vacation rentals because they brought unknown people into your community. What happens when a child's birthday party brings guests to your neighbor's house? Maybe they choose to host the Super Bowl. Perhaps it's Thanksgiving. Will you then call for code enforcement due to extra vehicles, excessive noise, or concerns about septic overusage? No, you won't. Because there's only concern when these visitors are vacation rental guests. And this is a clear display of targeting. I can say the work the city has done in regards to certain requirements of vacation rentals is impressive, specifically requiring outdoor security cameras. This actually offers extra protection for the management companies and the owners of these facilities. I imagine this is why the members of the community have, quote, stopped complaining because it doesn't do any good. But I suspect the real reason is because the management companies and the owners are now offering complaints. The city has made certain requirements to obtain or sustain a vacation rental license, all of which came at a cost to property owners, including costly upgrades to septic system and the installation of outdoor security cameras. If you were to dissolve vacation rentals, how does the city propose to reimburse the owners for the required upgrades that you, the city, forced them to make? How does the city plan to recoup the loss of income they're receiving from the operation of vacation rentals? From September 2024 through December 31st, 2025, that total is $99,721.03. How does the city plan to grow and sustain by cutting jobs and eliminating tourism income? Dissolving licensed vacation rentals will not eliminate your issues. In fact, it will do the opposite, and all benefits to the community would be eradicated. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Joe Giamona.
So, I'm Joe Giamona, former council member, that spent 14 months plus talking about this. I really wish everyone would have showed up like tonight when we were going over this 2 times a month. Because we put a lot of time in this, and some of the feedback's interesting tonight. So I'm going to speak on 2 different levels. One is a former council member, because I was obviously very involved in a lot of this information, and actually wrote the financial plan that got adopted and put in place. And so, some stats, right? 5% of residential homes in Dune City, so you're allowed 35. That's 5% of our residents. That's what we agreed on, right? Very short number. So, the financial plan was put in place to help the city, someone said earlier, generate some revenue for a code enforcer. One of the biggest things we heard from residents when I was on the council is we need a code enforcer to take care of properties, to go around the streets, make sure everything's good. This is a way to fund that job, and it's working, right? It created a lot of revenue so far in 2025. Let's see. We built the regs to be extremely strict. If anyone, again, I go research your stuff. If anyone looks at other cities and other states and how you do this stuff, we are minimal. Go to Florence. I have an STR, not in Dune City, in other cities, but go to Florence. It's a business license, $200, and that's all you get for an STR. Here, we said $1,000 permit, 5%, and I did the financial analytics to show how much someone would make if they did an STR at a certain occupancy rate, blah, 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 use financial data, specific data from Airbnb and VRBO. So this stuff is financially or statistically driven and done to make this decision. It wasn't an easy decision at all, and lots of debate on the council during those times. But if you look at that, we are much worse than any other city when it comes to, look at the fines. If anyone has taken the time to look at the fines, they escalate exponentially, because we wrote it that way, because if there's a bad actor, and they're proven to be a bad actor, they're going to get financially hit, and then they're just going to go away for life, right? That's how the ordinance works. One thing I said when I was on the council, if we do these hard rules for STRs, how about holding our own citizens accountable to the same stuff? I'm on public record making these comments, because I'm a citizen here, I'm a resident of Dune City, I have multiple houses, and I see what goes on in our city by residents. I've been at some of those parties that violated everything an STR would do, right? But because we're residents, that makes us okay. I was against that on the council side. I know other council members also have STRs, not here, but we have them, we use them. Who in here doesn't use an STR? Probably very few don't. So we all use them, but it's okay if we can use them, someone else's community, but come to ours, then we bring stuff in. I'm appalled by the comment, if it's true, I'll say that a council member would say it brings crime in. There's no statistics nationwide that supports and increases crime in a city for STRs. So if that's true, that should be stricken and accounted for, because that's exactly wrong. It's just totally wrong. I have no skin in the game. I'm just trying to give you guys perspective from a former council member. I voted for him, right? The majority of the council voted for him. That's why it's passed. We have some new members. It's their right to have a different opinion. But I'm just trying to give you guys some of the facts. That's really it. So I think a lot of it is just, and no one was involved when we tried to do this. And we spent 14 months doing it. And then now all of a sudden, there's a good amount of people. Now I've taken notes on everyone that's testified tonight or talked tonight. And if we do a simple tally, there's 22 people for STRs and 8 against. So if you look at it as a statistical analysis and you derive that out in predictive modeling, it shows that one could say the majority of Dune City residents are for STRs, and I think that should be taken into consideration by the council. And that doesn't undercut the citizens that truly have concern. If there's a bad actor, I'm the first person to say, get rid of them now. But you also have to validate a complaint, and that's another misinterpretation. I talked to some of the citizens because I was part of this. I'm accountable for my vote, my decision, right? And there was a misunderstanding of, if I file a complaint, okay, that's one. If 7 of us file the same complaint, that's still one unique complaint. And then it has to be validated. So just because I say someone did something wrong, it's America, right? We still have rights, there's due process. We gotta look at it, and then the city's gotta validate it through code enforcement.
And that's the process. When someone gets 3 in a year, they're gonesies. But they gotta be valid complaints and they can't be nits. And I see a lot of resident to resident issues, nothing that the city can actually take action on, you know, against STR owner because of what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. That's the last card I have on 9A. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak on 9A? Let me go here. What's your name, please?
I may have marked it wrong. Dusty Booze.
Oh, yes, I've got.
I just put on there that I would like to speak about the.
Okay, go ahead.
Short-term, yeah, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor McGuire and city council members. Appreciate all your hard work on this. We do own a short-term vacation rental, 83627 Highway 101 on Mohegan Lake. We have owned the home for almost 6 years, and we have been able to afford this home by using it as a short-term vacation rental in anticipation of retiring in this wonderful community. Because of the short-term vacation rental, we're able to do that. Before we purchased this home, it was also, the former owners used it as a short-term vacation rental for 10+ years. So I think our home is probably the most senior short-term vacation rental in Dune City. Not for sure, but it's 15+ years. So 0 complaints, not one. Mr. Donahue is our property manager. We live up in Kaiser for our primary residence, so we rely on him. We have no issues whatsoever. We've been coming to this area for 50+ years. My aunt and uncle own a home on Ford Way on Mohegan Lake. And like I say, we just love this area. And let's not cut the tree down. Let's prune the apples that are bad, if there are. And, you know, everybody's got an opinion. Totally get that. But I just ask that we look at this real closely on the financial impacts for the whole community, the city, and thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment. Ma'am.
I am Pat Griggs, and I live on Huckleberry Lane, and I just wanted to respond to the gentleman over here who used to be on the city council. At the last meeting, there were almost as many people, and most of those people were not for short-term rentals, so just to let you know that. And the other thing I'm wondering is, I don't know how you assess the applications that you get for short-term rentals, but I do understand, you know, all these different perspectives, and I certainly understand if a home has been in the family for generations, how important that is, or if someone lives in Eugene and they want to relocate here when they retire, I understand that, and you know, that makes sense. But if somebody is living further away than Eugene, out of state even, do you look at that when you're looking at the applications? Because that is not okay. And then the other thing is, when you're looking at the number of rentals that you have, do you look at neighborhoods and make sure that there aren't, like in our neighborhood, make sure nobody gets surrounded by a whole lot of these STRs. You know, they need to be scattered around so you don't feel like you're the only resident, you know, the only person living there full time and you've got them all around you. So that's my input.
Yeah, great comment. Thank you. Yes.
Good evening. I'd like to start by saying I am not the owner of the property on Russell. So I am the end of Rio though, so I'm well aware of what the situation is that's going on there.
What's your name, sir?
Mike Worsham. I was getting to that.
Okay, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Mike Worsham, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to briefly address some economic and financial impacts that a total ban on permitted short-term rentals would have on Dune City. These impacts extend well beyond the individual property owners like myself. According to the Oregon Department of Tourism, last year, our area attracted roughly 750,000 visitors. Most of these people were families. They stayed about 6 days and spent approximately $249 per person per day in our community. That spending circulates directly through our local economy. Restaurants, coffee shops, retail businesses, art galleries, and local attractions. But behind that activity is actually real people. Short-term rentals support house cleaners and landscapers and contractors and plumbers, and a lot of those people are sitting in this room tonight. I'd also like to address the complaint data that was cited as the justification for this total ban. According to the city's meeting minutes from January 7th and January 21st, during the entirety of 2025, there were 15 total complaints related to short-term rentals. 12 of those complaints were on one single property. I'll say that again. 12 of the 15 complaints were on one property. This is important because the city already has clear enforcement solution. If a permitted short-term rental receives 3 substantiated complaints in a calendar year, that permit can be revoked or simply not renewed anymore. The tools to address the problem properties already exist. I would also like to clarify something else that appeared in the meeting record and was addressed again this evening. Our property is titled to an LLC. That LLC is owned solely by my wife and myself. My wife is a teacher. I'm an accountant. We are not a large multinational corporation or an institutional investment firm. I'm not BlackRock. If I was, I wouldn't be here tonight. This is our planned retirement home. When we bought the place 4 years ago, it had been sitting empty for 3.5 years, vacant on the market. Nobody wanted it until my wife and I drove down the driveway. And the clouds literally parted, and I was like, oh, we gotta have this place. Bad decision. We already have in place occupancy limits, parking requirements, noise ordinance, annual permits, fees, and an enforcement mechanism. We just need to utilize these correctly. Eliminating rentals would strip the recurring city revenue, reduce local employment, and shift burden back to the permanent residences. I respectfully urge the council to consider targeted enforcement. Thank you for your time and your consideration this evening.
Thank you. Okay, did anybody, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add briefly to the comments that have already been made. My name is Louis Birdseye. I grew up in this community, love Dune City, love everything it has to offer. I do want to express my opposition to reducing the number of short-term rentals down to 0. I think that that's an overstepping of small government. I think that it's important for people to have the ability to do what they want with their livelihood and with their own property. And I really want to, I guess, address what might be the elephant in the room. Why hasn't there been any enforcement done? I had a short-term rental for 4 or 5 years. I was a superhost on Airbnb. Never received a single complaint by any of the short-term renters, by any of my neighbors. And I think that really the onus has got to be on you guys as council members to figure out a good way to enforce this. I think there are valid concerns for people on both sides. And yeah, there's a problem property. I think that should be dealt and addressed with. One last thing, I just got back from living 15 months in Egypt, and that is a dictatorship. So I'm really happy that, like, you know, still in this country we have the right to come in a public forum and have public discourse.
Thanks, Louis. And I would, the backup material to this meeting includes a redacted code enforcement report. I would like you to read the available material. All the complaints that were received have been investigated. So that material is in there for your review. There has been a lot of work. Who else on 9A? Or, we have 2 cards for 9B, we probably should just,
Yeah,
Alan.
I think you probably wanted mine.
Go ahead, Alan Snow.
My comments are similar to Joe's in the fact that this council has heard most of the things that you've heard tonight. Previously, there's not any real new information to you. This started years ago, it's been going on, the discussion for years. You deliberated over the last several months and then came up with a new ordinance. It was unanimously approved and put it in place, and now we have it in place and moving forward. I think it's a serious act of bad faith at this time to pull back from that. Not that there's not issues, not things that shouldn't be addressed. My concern is that it doesn't seem to be statistically viable that you have a problem. We have 3 within short-term rentals within walking distance of our home, and never had a problem with any of them. There's 6 in our area. 0 problems with 6 of them right there. The only time we have anything that goes on that we notice is when they have 25 people there for Memorial Day.
Our family.
But they'll bring you over and they'll give you a hamburger. It's not a short-term rental problem. You can come over for the barbecue. That's the only time we ever notice that they're there.
Sorry.
And,
We'll keep it down.
no, well, we come over and sit down with, when your parents were there, we came over and sat down with you. There just statistically is not a problem. There are problems that need to be addressed. As then Joe's mentioned, there are mechanisms to take care of it. We do own a short-term rental in Lane County. The people that come into a short-term rental are vetted before they get there. They're not criminals. They're good people. They have ratings. You know how good they are before they get there. 95% of our people that have been there have been excellent. We'd have them back again. There's 5% that you wonder what they did with your property and they park in the wrong places. But that's a 95% success rate. For those that are using Airbnb or Vrbo around here, I bet they have the 95% success rates with their guests too. These are not the riffraff you guys are claiming. They're people like you. I think you just need to back up. And the council deliberated on it, they thought about it, they put it in place. I don't know why we're reviewing it again. Then there's no new information here.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, fellow neighbors, my name is Linda Tipton. My husband and I have been here almost 7 years now. We're full-time residents. We do not have an STR, and I sympathize both sides. I mean, everybody has the right to enjoy their property. Myself, I would like to reserve the right, if I ever needed to do a vacation rental, that I would be able to do so. Of course, have it properly managed. My concern right now is if you do decide to eliminate, will it be a moratorium? Will some of them be grandfathered in that are already here? A lot of the people that have vacation rentals do it for income. If they lose that income stream, they could lose their home. And interest rates right now, people trying to buy, it's so limited. I'm a realtor, everybody boo at me all at once. But you know, I see what's going on. Yes, we do need vacation rentals, we need rentals. Primary dollars for vacation rentals, you can get more than long-term rentals. But the thing is, the people that can afford them without having the income, you don't want to see them lose their home. You don't want to have to force them to sell. And that's what I wanted to bring up. So just think about that, if you're thinking of doing it.
Thank you. And there was another hand back there? No? All right. 8:12. So this was, the agenda item itself is a report on complaints and code enforcement activities at Kind of Gruesome Lake. So I think we've heard from, thus far tonight, 32 plus 6 online, plus some letters. So I think we've heard from a substantial group. I think we should go down the table and, I don't know, I'm gonna start with you, Duke, at your end of the table. If you've got any comments or anything else, And this was a report to the council originally, this is how this started, was staff report to council on the complaints that were received and investigated. So, anything you want to add?
Well, a little reality. Short-term rentals aren't going anywhere. They're either gonna be watched over by the city council and our code enforcement officer, or they're gonna go underground, but they're not going anywhere. I was on the council when there was 80-some before we had all these ordinances. And I volunteered to go out when people would come to City Hall and said they have a problem. Both of the ones that, I went on 3. 2 were, I've told people here before, 2 were on Cloud 9, 1 was on Buckskin Bomb. And they were problems. As much as I don't personally care for them, they're not going anywhere. This council up here worked hard to come up with a solution to that, an ordinance, and I think they came up with a very good ordinance. I think what we have to do, and there's some growing pains there, we have to punish those that need punished. And I think we do that by, I hope that we can somehow give our code enforcement officer more on-site authority. I think that we need to give him authority in a way that he can issue a report, a copy to the person on site and one back to Lila. I also think that it would help if our code enforcement officer had the look of authority. And this might sound a little corny or something, but I think it helps because I think it would help give him some authority on site, and that is having a badge where he is a code enforcement officer and he can have that badge. A badge does carry a little respect with it and a little authority. I think we have to go down that way. I know I'm gonna work this into here. In the January 7th meeting, I said something that was wrong, and I have to fix that. That's just how it is. I got caught up in let some of my emotions and what I believe get in the way of what my job is, my position here. I said I thought that the situation was worse than it was before, and that's not a true statement. It's much, much better. It's much better because of this council, because of Lila and her staff, and because of the work that our code enforcement officer does. And so I apologize for that. It is much better than it was. I was here when it wasn't good. They're not going to go anywhere. I think we have a good ordinance. I think we have to punish those that need punished. The other side of that, when you look through the complaints, it doesn't help any when you get all of the complaints coming in that aren't violations. I think we really have to make sure when we call in that it is a violation. Gonna skip back onto the code enforcement officer here for a minute. I think we need to give him tools as well. I think especially like I'm not sure what the official name is, a decibel that reads how high the volume is.
Yeah.
That he could have that on site then and there, so it's an official amount of noise if that is actually the problem. Yeah, it's not ever going to go back. It's never going to be like it was when I was raising my family here. It's just not. That's a fact. We're going to have short-term rentals here. I think we need to keep the regulation in place. I personally won't vote for to put it on the ballot or to get rid of it. I'm against that. I think we need to keep it so we can control it. And I think we need to punish those that need to be punished. And I think we need to give our code enforcement officer more authority, real and perceived, and give him the tools to do it with. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa?
So I
I do agree with what Councilor Wells did say. I do apologize, I'm not the best speaker in the world, but I am not for short-term rentals. With that being said, I do understand that there are going to be short-term rentals. If we stop them, they will go underground. Will be more issues that we can't control. We put it on the ballot, as previous councilors, Joe said, look at how many were formed. Yes, we'll look at the person in the audience that said last meeting, we had a lot of people against. Is it gonna be, or is it gonna continue to tear our town apart? What do we want? Do we just need to come to an agreement? I think we need to. I think it's something that's never gonna go away, so we need to learn how to deal with it. So maybe it's fine tuning of our ordinance, because we did spend a long time in dealing with this ordinance. I think we do need to do some fine tuning to further enhance our code enforcement ability to handle these concerns and these incidents that are causing such great concern in regards to if it's a true issue, if it's been reported by one person and 2 and 3 and 4 people are reporting the same thing because they think that it's all gonna count as additional complaints. It's not. Because if it's A, B, C, and D all reporting the same complaint that happened at 9 o'clock on February 2nd, that's still one incident. And I hope that people understand that. It has to be repetitive, more than not multiple neighbors, repetitive in different times. So is there a ground that I think we could all get to? Absolutely. It's not something that's going to be fixed overnight. Unfortunately, short-term rentals are going to be here. So I hope everybody can realize that it's something that we can all work together on. We may not be for them, but would we rather have them be underground and not be controlled at all? Is it an inconvenience to a lot of us? Yeah. Is it embark in our private lives? Yeah. But it's just like if we went to a different location, would we be around strangers? Absolutely. So we all need to think about that.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say.
Appreciate it. Susan?
Well, I agree with a lot of the things that Melissa and Duke said, because I feel that we don't keep the ordinance and don't regulate STRs, they're going to be underground just like they were previously before we had the ordinance.
Why would we get rid of the ordinance?
Can I finish, please?
But the assumption is that we're getting rid of the ordinance. Why would we get rid of the ordinance?
I said, can I please finish?
Sure.
Thank you. I feel that it's a person's right to buy a home and do what they need to do to keep it. It's very expensive to live in this day and time. Taxes are high, and a lot of people can't stay in their homes without getting a little extra income to pay. And a lot of them are elderly people that cannot live on Social Security and need the extra money to get by. I feel for these people, and I think they need to do that. I was on the council with Duke, and we had over 80 homes, STRs, of previously. With regulating them, we reduced that number. And I think that's in a positive direction. So I feel that regulating STRs is the only way to do it, because otherwise I think they'll be here and we won't be able to do anything about them. Thank you.
Thank you. Rich?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming today, for or against. The one thing that I'd like to point out that I don't think most people are actually putting together here is the mass majority of the people that have spoke tonight are people that have short-term rentals from their families that have been there for generations. These people have came here their whole lives. Their grandfather's house, their grandmother's house, their aunt, their uncle. They've been coming here their whole lives. This is how they've kept their house and kept it within their family. These things you know, need to be taken into consideration. Everybody's saying that these are businesses that are being rented out, that we're being overrun. I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing the problems. I'm not seeing the problems. You know? Do we have a few bad eggs? Yes. Do we need to tighten things a little bit? Yes. Ban? No. I mean, I just did a short numbers and we're 4-1. That's pretty substantial. So with that, I just think we need to know who our neighbors are and know who they've been for 50 years.
Real quickly,
This is a council's time, I'm sorry.
we have to limit at least, we can't have the whole thing short-term rental.
It is limited.
It's already capped. It's already capped.
35. But, yeah, you're right, Rich, this is for the council.
Okay.
You guys, I'm done. All right, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Again, for everybody who came last meeting, this meeting, I welcome the input. I want to hear from everybody. From my perspective, we need to balance the property rights on both sides. You own a piece of property, within the scope of that property, it's yours to do what you want with it. As soon as you start affecting people outside of that property, now we have an issue. That's how it works, right? So we made a huge step forward when we passed the ordinance, and we now have a year plus of operational experience that we can maybe apply to improving how that ordinance works. Maybe there's some areas we need to tighten up, but to throw it out is the wrong move. So we need to find a balance, learn from the lessons that we have over the last year to compromise between these two property owners.
Well, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I really have appreciated the opportunity to hear all your opinions. I think it's very valid to have as much community participation as possible. For those of you that don't regularly attend, do the city council meetings, sometimes there's only 2 people in the audience. And so you see this group of people up here serving, we're volunteers. Okay, we don't, each of us have some grand plan to gain power and control. We just decided to step up and volunteer. And so we don't get paid. We try really hard to figure out how to operate a city without property taxes. If you don't already know, we don't have property tax here. The county has a property tax, but our city operates on motel revenue, gas tax, fees here and there, but it's really minimal. And we have a lot of demands on the city. We provide things like street paving, we provide lights, we provide brush and street clearing. There's so many different things that our city staff does that we try to support as volunteers that put things in place. Now, if you look up on the wall over there, you'll see we have rules of the road for our council. What that means is that we work as a group, and we throw around a lot of ideas, and we brainstorm a lot of ideas, and we put proposals out there, and we debate them. But once we make a decision, we rally behind whatever that decision is. That will be the case with this issue. I will support whatever the council comes up with. We also have constituents. And since I was elected, I've heard from constituents over and over and over again about their difficulties with short-term rentals next to their homes. Now, some of you, those of you who live on the property, that have your historical family homes here, I can't imagine that you are the best hosts in the world. And I'm sure that we are never going to have a problem with you because we know that you're going to be there, you're managing your property, you're not relying on some other person to make sure that the people who come are well behaved because you love your property and you want to see it respected. The problem we have is that we have some bad apples. And so rather than try and be discriminatory and try and figure out who those are, it's very difficult, as has been mentioned by Joe. We came up with an ordinance, and it's going to need perfecting over time, and we came up with code enforcement. So it's very difficult for us to figure out where this is going to end up. Now, when I was at the December 7th meeting, we had a discussion, December 17th meeting here in the council chambers, and there weren't many people here. But for the good of the order, and I support Duke in this, he said that he was worried about the citizens and the impacts of short-term rentals and expressed interest in revisiting the short-term rental ordinance. Okay, so he made that statement. Later in the same meeting, Councilor Melissa Stinson and I stated that we would be interested in revisiting the short-term rental ordinance. And I further suggested that the notice section should be reworked in terms of the permitting process. So that was a conversation we had on the 17th. On the 7th of January, Councilor Wells again stated that he wanted to see more teeth in the short-term rental ordinance to curb those properties that are not following the ordinance. Councilor Stimson stated that she wanted to make Dune City a good place to live again. And Councilor Olson encouraged those in the audience to inform the city of any known unpermitted short-term rentals. And Chris said that this was a very complicated issue. Susan was appreciative that there were people here to participate. And I indicated that there is no perfect fix for short-term rentals. Now, having heard the comments of my fellow council members is why I prepared a resolution. Actions take place when council members make resolutions, you seek a second, then you seek a vote, then you discuss it, you see about where this is going to go. We all know it needs to be fixed. Now, perhaps a complete ban is not the fix. I get that. But we have to find a way to fix it that doesn't completely exhaust us and our staff and our code enforcement officer, and we have to do that with a shoestring budget because we don't get any property tax. You know, we either have to find new ways of developing revenue or we have a difficulty. So it's very difficult to say to our code enforcement officer, please, Igor, go to somebody's house at 11:30 at night. That's not his work shift. Well, maybe we need to fix that. Maybe we need to have additional staffing, but how do we pay for that additional staffing? So I hope each of you can appreciate the challenge that we face. Now, I wanted to add one more thing. It was alleged that I had some kind of ethical issue with this short-term rental business. Let me explain that I have been a customer of short-term rentals. And I rented, I have a lot of grandkids. I have 19 grandkids. And when I decided to take my family, 15 of them and their adults, there was a group of 23 of us. So we reached out to 2 different families in 2 different locations. And we spoke to the owner because each of their short-term rentals indicated that they could accommodate 20 people. So rather than just show up with 23, we called those individual owners and spoke to them. Not their property manager, we spoke to the owners and asked them, is this something that could work in your home? And they said, absolutely. So we checked in advance, and I think we were very good guests. So I can see a model where that worked. It worked for our family. So I didn't come into this meeting with any preconceived notion that, oh goodness, we need to get rid of short-term rentals, nor do I have any ethical conflicts of interest here. So I want to read this to you. I've taken ethics training with 6 different Oregon government organizations that I have been elected to or volunteered to serve under. I have reviewed this matter, the allegation by Jim Donahue, with our legal counsel. As I already knew, as it relates to myself, my spouse, or my household, or my family, only a direct financial benefit or interest would qualify as a conflict of interest to make it necessary to recuse myself. The council does not make that declaration or decision. Only the affected government servant does. Only an actual financial interest would result in a conflict of interest, and it is a false statement that I have a vacant property next to my home, as Jim Donahue alleged. Nor have I colluded with Linda John. As an elected council member, I have listened to many of our constituents and fellow council members who have had a poor experience with short-term rentals. I have learned and researched about the deleterious effects on residential neighborhoods, lack of housing availability, and affordability issues that short-term rentals have had on many communities across the country. and several of them are banning them in residential areas due to these adverse experiences. When I listened and heard some of our council members reflect that they would like STRs gone, I prepared my resolution in accordance with the plain language of the ordinance, the existing ordinance. The ethics guide provide guidance that potential or perceived conflicts of interest are not actionable. Even if there were a vacant property next to mine, without my direct financial involvement, there would be no conflict of interest. If I listen to constituent concerns, whatever they might be, including those of you who want to keep short-term rentals, there is no conflict of interest. My reputation is really important to me. If I had any financial interest in this matter, I would disclose that, but I have none. Your comments are solicited, and I appreciate very much, and I endorse all the statements of my fellow councilors. We will look at this, and we will work it hard. We will try to find a solution that works. And I appreciate very much each of you participating because it helps support what we're trying to do here. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Mayor, may I have another open ability to make a quick comment?
Sure.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm gonna respectfully disagree with what you're saying. You pointed out a few of us up here on the council about how we wanted something, but we truly listen to all of our constituents that are out there. We listen to our previous council member.
And I didn't mean to
And
interrupt.
we have the right to change our minds
Yes, you do.
when we hear the statistics that are presented in front of us.
Absolutely.
So that's where we're going for. So we too are listening to our constituents. So
I know
please do
you
not
do.
portray us as that we are not.
No, I was just reading the minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to thank everybody that's participated as well. A little over 2 years ago, we had some rowdy meetings and the mayor resigned. So I was a tiny bit nervous. So I appreciate that everybody got to comment. We got lots of comments. I hope to see all you guys when we have a Christmas party or something. So, I mean, from a numbers perspective, yeah, I think we had 21 or 22 of the public comment were supportive of some sort of short-term rentals. I think 11 were no. We had 6 more on the phone. We have 27 letters of support, and 6, let's see, 6 are non-short-term rental owners that just support the community in the process, and 1 is also the Chamber of Commerce. They had a nicely worded letter. So anyway, but we've gathered a lot of information, and John, to your point, it is capped by ordinance, or by the resolution that puts the number in the ordinance at 35, which,
Thank you.
according to the demographic data we get, we're about 1,442, I think, residents, 891 homes. So it's 3.5%-ish if we were maxed out. We're currently at 30. We were at 27 a month ago when we started this, and there's...
No, we were at 27 active.
Okay, we've had a couple of applications, because
No, there was 2 of them that went to full-time rental for the winter time.
Okay.
And another one is doing a remodel.
Okay, so we're under the 35. We've never got to the 35. That was after, reviewing all the data. And at the time, because there were existing short-term rentals, we didn't want to write anybody just out blindly. So we set it at what we thought the number would be of those people that would pay the fees and sign up. So it was a good guess. We're somewhere in those low 30s, maybe high 20s. So from all the numbers perspective, I think we have a reasonable number. I think we've got lots of great comments, and every ordinance is really a living ordinance. And it's hard work. It's a messy, painful process sometimes. To change an ordinance is a minimum of 2 meetings. You've got to introduce it and have a discussion, and then you've got to have a formal, you take all the comments, then you have to have a formal public hearing. And, there's advertising dates and that sort of thing, so sometimes it takes a while, but, and we got some good comments, and there's a couple, you brought up the distance, the concept of distance, and that's an outstanding comment. I've worked on this at another entity, and I think we set them at, you couldn't have one within 300 feet or 500 feet, and I think the Chamber of Commerce mentioned, no, the previous ordinance I worked on. And the chamber recommended the same thing, because I don't think we want to end up with rows of rentals at the end of a street, especially near the lake, and then one or two full-time residents. So I think, next steps, we can introduce that ordinance and have somebody.
Would you grandfather ones that already exist?
What's that?
There is one that already exists, 3 in a row.
Yeah, so there would be some sort of, if they don't renew, they would phase out, and then anybody that applied would have to meet the distance test. So we can look at things like that. I mean, we're not deciding that tonight, that's an idea, but we got a lot of good, I got lots of notes and lots of good ideas, and a couple of addresses to follow up on. And we are working, and we're waiting for Lane County. There's 2 things that Dune City does. There's a number of things that Dune City does that nobody else does. But having worked on the water rights, the city water rights for over the last year, almost full time, we're the only city that has water rights that doesn't have a municipal system. So we do not fit in the permitting process and the state process, so we spend a lot of time with the state. And then the septic. Lane County has this process for a follow-up inspection. We're the only city that requires it. And so it has an additional cost, and we have a number of those in the queue that we thought were taken care of, and they said no, they were on hold at the county end for unknown reasons to Dune City. So we processed the application, all that information was submitted, and it evidently wasn't all acted on. Some were and some weren't. So anyway, we will follow up. We have been following up. And
Mayor, can I ask one more question?
you bet.
Okay, so, while we have a lot of property owners and property managers here in the room, I went on the Airbnb and VRBO websites over the last few days, and I planned a trip out in June, and then I looked at all the reviews. And I would ask for your best efforts to see if we can't resolve some neighborhood conflict issues that keep recurring in these reviews. And these are reviews by the VRBO and Airbnb customers, not our residents. These are customers of yours that came here and that had a conflict with the neighbors here. And the conflicts seem to relate in 2 areas. One, there's more people staying there than what are permitted. Now, I realize, having used Airbnbs, that sometimes all you get is a code, and you go to the door and you punch in the code, and you get the key, and you're in. And I realize that you could have some customers that are bringing 10 people but really show up with 16, and they're planning on having people use the couches and the futons and that sort of thing, and really stress the property. And so when I read the reviews, I found several where there were, maximum occupancy 8, but there were 17 people there. It was perfect for our group of 17, is the language that was used. In other cases, there were significant conflicts between people seeking lake access. Lots of disputes. And what was remarkable is that some of these properties with the lake access disputes, it went from week to week to week to week. So a customer here had the problem. 3 weeks later, the customer had the same issue with a neighbor. These are your neighbors. There's a conflict there. So I would ask that property managers and owners do their level best to make sure that you are staying within the permitted number of people in the residence, number of vehicles, but also if you have lake access. A lot of people honestly just assume if I can see it, I can go there. And they might be crossing private land. So let's see if we can't tighten that up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of 9A. And I would like to end the meeting right now, because we're never going to get through the rest of the agenda. And continue the rest of the agenda to the next meeting, because I'm running out of gas.
Accept the motion. I'll make a motion that we end the meeting.
All right, appreciate it. We'll second that. All right, we got a second. So we will continue 9B and on.
Can we go to the order before we go?
You betcha.
Just one more.
Because we haven't voted on it. Yes. You got something on there?
Yes. I intended voting.
Maybe we should wait.
It's good.
Yeah, we're still meeting. We got one more thing to do.
This will be quick, folks.
Thank you. My pleasure. All right.
A little lower. Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to mention that I attended the Woheek Lake Association's biannual community picnic. It was well attended. And I want to thank those volunteers that are going out on our lake, and they're doing several things, as you know. They're assessing water clarity in Woheek Lake, and also water temperature. And this is a significant undertaking. And while we were at the meeting, they also had a guest speaker, and the guest speaker was from Trail Keepers of Oregon. This is a nonprofit organization that helps build and restore trails that the state of Oregon can't get to. So I was wondering if we didn't want to approach them and see if they could help. So that's what I had.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Chris?
I don't know, thank you.
Thanks. Rich?
Sorry.
You don't have to.
Rich, are you okay? It's a little long, it's a little late.
I
You didn't have your water with you.
had something and now it's gone.
Next time. I want to note that a lot of people that come to visit really like Darling.
Oh, darling.
Anything else, Susan?
I'm tired right now.
All right.
I was good, thank you.
Dude? No, I'm good. Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, that sounds unanimous.